Scream about freedom, but they want control. Ban everything they don't wanna know. Zero facts, just vibes and rage. Groomed on hate from an early age. Wave the flag while they strip your rights. Wave the Bible while they live for spite. Won't tell the truth, they can't not lie. Gotta play the victim, they can't not cry. M-A-G-A, you motherfucking assholes, go away. M-A-G-A, you motherfucking assholes, go away. I'm sick of your shit, I don't care what you say. All you motherfucking assholes, go away. Right-wing news leaves them dumb as hell. Fall for anything, they already fell. Bootstraps, bitch, we can't afford shoes. You done gave everything to your billionaire boo. They say law and order and back to blue. As long as the blue is fucking with you. They say fair play rigs their game. Same old bigot shit, just a different damn name. M-A-G-A, you motherfucking assholes, go away. M-A-G-A, you motherfucking assholes, go away. I'm sick of your shit, I don't care what you say. All you motherfucking assholes, go away. No healthcare while we die for oil. Blame the gays when they have to toil. Lost your job, must be the woke. Can't be all your shitty jokes. So damn tough, but always in tears. Whining like babies about made-up fears. TikTok tough guys crying in the streets. Fragile as fuck, who you calling weak? M-A-G-A, you motherfucking assholes, go away. M-A-G-A, you motherfucking assholes, go away. I'm sick of your shit, I don't care what you say. All you motherfucking assholes, go away. Got a long list of people that got AIDS. They hate all the same people that got AIDS. The kids hate the same people that got AIDS. The kids hate the same kids that got AIDS. Got a long list of people that got AIDS. They hate all the same people that got AIDS. The kids hate the same people that got AIDS. The kids hate the same kids that got AIDS. M-A-G-A, you motherfucking assholes, go away. M-A-G-A, you motherfucking assholes, go away. I'm sick of your shit, I don't care what you say. All you motherfucking assholes, go away.
favor. Go find a legend, do the world a favor. Fuck mega, fuck guys, and fuck you too. If you're down with the shit, I'm done with you. Fuck mega, fuck guys, and fuck you too. If you're down with this, I hope they get you too. Cry about this, whine about this, about a little more. I guess you're not an alpha badass warrior anymore. Tell me I have cooties while your face is in the crutch.
I wanna dig a hole, dig a massive pit, bury all the ice, and burn the maddest shit. I've had enough, I heard enough, I'm thoroughly pissed. If all you maggots died today, you wouldn't be missed. Zero medicine, choke on the face. Go find a legend, do the world a face. Fuck MAGA, fuck ICE, and fuck you too. If you're down with this shit, I'm done with you. MAGA, fuck ICE, and fuck you too. If you're down with this, I hope they get you too. Cry about this, whine about this, pout a little more. I guess you're not enough a badass warrior anymore. Tell me how your cooties, why your face is in the crotch. Up and know that's Whitey No Ride, who looks like pumpkin rock. You're high on your farce, you're too full of shit. I hope you take a wrong turn and catch a whole ice cup. Fuck MAGA, fuck ICE, and fuck you too. If you're down with this shit, I'm fine with you. MAGA, fuck ICE, and fuck you too. If you're down with this, I hope they get you too.
The shooting circulated online, it became clear. But in the days afterwards, as various videos of the shooting circulated online, it became clear that the White House was out of step with not just public opinion, but with what Americans could see with their own eyes. I will never pretend to understand America's relationship with guns. You know, 1 in 3 adults owns a gun. Most Americans are against strict gun control. Literally millions of them are legally walking around carrying guns. Gun crime is therefore inevitable, right? Normal. We're used to watching spotty teenagers shooting up American classrooms. It's just normal, right? It's normal because it's inevitable. The president getting shot at, Charlie Kirk. Right, horrendous acts of domestic terrorism, but gun violence in America is normal, inevitable.
Yep.
And as soon as the next US citizen is gunned down by an ICE or border control officer, which is inevitable, this too will have become normal.
Yes.
A US citizen.
Absolutely.
Who the footage clearly shows was defending a woman who'd been violently pushed over, a man who was legally carrying a gun, who didn't go for his gun, was disarmed of his gun and then shot 10 times by presumably more than one ICE agent. The White House immediately claimed, without evidence, i.e. it lied, that the still warm corpse was a would-be assassin who was trying to murder federal agents. This ICU doctor was part of a radical far-left splinter cell, a terrorist. Albeit a terrorist whose court records show he has no criminal record beyond traffic tickets. Apparently ICE is here to keep you safe. As long as you're cool with any non-white people in your community being stopped and searched by a gang of meatheads who have never used a safety catch or a word over 2 syllables in their life. Dare to protest or indeed express your anger at that policy, you might very well be executed in the street. That is White House policy, to use violence and intimidation against its own people and then lie about it. One MAGA-friendly assistant US attorney went on to claim that if you approach law enforcement whilst carrying a gun, there's a high likelihood that they will be legally justified in shooting you. Wow! When did that happen? This must be news to the 16 million or so law-abiding adult gun owners in the US that if they even approach law enforcement whilst legally carrying a gun, there is a high likelihood of them legally shooting you. And not only that, but after you've been blown to pieces, the President of the United States will then loudly exclaim that the men responsible for your murder are phenomenal. He'll proclaim in block capitals, let our ICE patriots do their job seemingly to shoot in the face anyone who might casually tell them to fuck off in the street. Not very respectful, sure, but not entirely warranting of being pepper sprayed and then shot 10 times. 10 times after being disarmed. 10 times. Does that not in itself suggest perhaps a lack of control, discipline, morality, but above all, basic training? Surely any trained law enforcement officer or serving military personnel in America, or in fact any human being with working eyes, no matter their politics, sees these killings and knows that these guys are fucking amateurs. Dangerous, hot-headed amateurs, highly untrained globules of testosterone plonked on the streets of America by the capricious toad in the Oval Office who's running the show. A mob, a militia, whatever you want to call it, able and clearly willing to shoot protesters multiple times at point-blank range if they get a bit mouthy, or aren't showing due deference to the ICE-branded balaclava, or are dangerously flailing their arms around because you've just emptied a pint of pepper spray into their eyeballs. Terrifying stuff, but also inevitable. Normal. Well, the White House hasn't exactly U-turned, more of gently pivoted, with all the blame squarely looking.
Let's go through just a couple of ICE's greatest hits.
If you are so enraged right now that you want to wish harm on ICE and their bosses and the president and the vice president and Kristi Noem and Kash Patel, everybody else who is mouthed off, Squidward Miller, if you're wishing harm on them right now, that is perfectly normal and natural. It is a normal reaction to seeing the shit that's playing out in front of you and being treated the way they're treating us. What's not normal is to be okay with this. What's not normal is to complain about the negativity and ask for more cat pictures.
Just over the past one day.
Like Sports Center for fascism.
I mean, understand, again, the idea that after the killing of Renee Good, ICE leadership, DHS leadership, the White House leadership, whatever, there's one of two ways you could have gone. One of the ways is like, guys, we are, things are out of control. We need to back off a little bit. We need to give space. We're going to do our job and blah, 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 and just back off. Or the other one is double down. We got your backs. Don't worry. Nobody's going to get hurt. Jonathan Ross, he's now, just paid administrative leave, maybe not even that. He's just, hanging out, chilling. These two guys who just got shot, who just killed Preddy, they're on paid vacation. They're not going to lose a dime. All they're doing now is just going out and shopping for new buff gear.
Drinking.
And how do we know this is there's been no attempt by any of these entities' leadership to say, hey, guys, check yourself.
Yeah.
That is not what the game is. They are not playing that game.
They've been encouraging it. They've been encouraging it. They've been encouraging worse behavior, especially when they go on the news and they immediately lie about what happened. So you're telling all the bad actors, in your force that, hey, you're literally letting the ICE agents know you can walk into any building you want right now and just blast everybody in that room and laugh about it, and the White House will lie for you. You can do anything you want, and the White House will lie for you.
Everything that's happening is happening exactly as they want it to. The only thing that's not happening that they want to have happen is they want the protests to be more out of control so they can justify more repression. That's the only thing. Is like the people who are thwarting ICE are dancing too slowly and in too much of a controlled way for them to be able to sort of like pick up the pace as to where they want to go. But if you think for a moment that this is, there's any type of sea change as to the way they're going to be behave. Here's just all the stuff that happened just yesterday. Let's start with the number 11. This is the Ecuadorian consulate in Minneapolis. That means that they have diplomatic immunity. And here they are. Here's just it's very brief. Apparently it just cycles through. But Ecuador's Minister of Foreign Affairs filed a formal note of protest with the U.S. after ICE agents attempted to enter the Ecuadorian consulate in Minneapolis yesterday morning. That's it. Apparently, the ICE guys, these sharp guys, saw some people who look like.
There's some in here, boss.
Yeah.
Also, this has led to a formal protest from the Ecuadorian
Racist
Foreign Ministry.
dirtbags.
Of course, this is an international incident because these alcoholic Nazis saw a brown person in a building.
If you touch me, I'll grab you.
This is an ICE agent talking to a guy in Minnesota. This ICE agent showing his face.
Trash.
I hope
ICE is dangerous.
there are
ICE
people
hurts
who recognize him, and
Buckeyes.
when they see him in Minnesota, tell him, "Oh, I saw you on TV. Everybody knows you."
I will tell you this, brother.
What?
I will tell you this. You raise your voice, I raise your voice.
If I raise
Fuck
my
you.
voice, you'll erase my.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Are you serious? You said if I raise my voice, you'll erase my voice?
I will tell you.
That does not seem like a guy who's been instructed by his superiors to, hey, we need to develop better relationships with the community.
I mean, so excited to take that line out too.
I've been practicing this one. I watched all the Arnold Schwarzenegger, movies I could last night.
Erase your voice, erase. I mean,
Do you remember, Smitty, where I told you would be the last to die? I lied.
Yeah.
Here are ICE agents. There was a protest in Phoenix, Arizona. Protesting on the sidewalk, on the side of a road. They're just This is like the most banal sort of non-confrontational
garbage.
type of protest you can have, right?
If I drove up on this, I would think maybe they're doing a car wash.
I mean, honestly, it's just, and ICE agents are pulling away, and they decide to essentially attack these protesters.
drive by.
Yep. Just for absolutely no reason
Law and order.
other
Man, I wish to God somebody would have just got fucking triggered and pissed and just right back at them with that gas. Oh, you want pepper spray? We got something a little. That would have been fucking, because that's where this is going. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's coming. Everybody's talking about it, and some of the people at the top are starting to figure it out. But it's coming. Look at every country around the world that has a police force on the street acting like this. What always happens? What always happens? People get tired of getting pushed and they start pushing back. Next thing you know, it's open season on the fucking cops. And the cops are outnumbered and outgunned. Well, in other countries, the cops are outnumbered. They have the citizens outgunned, but the citizens don't fucking care. They throw rocks. They pick up sticks. They take whatever. And they start fighting back. And it's out of defense. And that's going to happen here. People are going to get tired of this blatant abuse, and they're going to start fighting back. And the problem is we live in a country where 1 in every 3 people is a gun owner. And we live in a country where there's more guns on the streets than there are people. So it's gonna fucking, I mean, that's what they figured out back during civil rights. That's what it was coming to. People in the White House were like, you know what? Maybe we should pass civil rights to avoid another civil war. So it's just going to be a matter of, what does MAGA want? Is it worth a civil war to them? Will they still be able to achieve their goals if this country breaks out in civil war? Or is civil war their design? I could actually see Squidward Miller and Timu Teddy Ruxpin, JD Vance, being dumb enough to want a civil war. I could see them being stupid enough to want it. Because they're like those right-wing podcasters. They don't realize that when civil war breaks out, well, you'll be in danger too, dumbass, and there ain't going to be anybody trying to protect you. Ugh.
Other than to randomly fire at protesters, they spray that pepper spray. Some people are just, I mean, there was a woman there who was, you know, she was just, had no reason to expect that type of thing. And she was, yeah, laid out on the floor. Look at this.
Anybody gonna tell me? Oh my god. Tell your eyes. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Now, if you did that to an ICE agent, what would the penalty be?
You would be going to jail for years.
Yep.
There's one we can't show. It's more goofy than this, but did you see the footage of them mooning the protesters from the hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More training.
I did you with that Banjo Kazooie because we got a wacky one coming in hot today. Over the years, I've made quite a few videos clowning on those promo videos or PR material, PR campaign type pitches from really out of touch politicians where they're trying to do something, but they're like extremely bad at it. It's very clear they're really unfamiliar with what they're doing, so it's all just really fake and performative. Like that one politician who was pretending to fill up his truck, and it was abundantly clear he had no fucking clue how to pump his own gas. I don't remember who that was now at this point. But I've always enjoyed laughing at those things, and today I saw a really interesting one here from Christy Gnome that had me giggling.
Here we are with Marco and Brian today. They're letting me roll with them. We're going to go out and pick up somebody who I think is got charges of human trafficking. We earlier had an op that swept up somebody who was wanted for murder. So appreciate the good work that they do every day, and we appreciate them working to make America safe.
Now, I know this video isn't super new. It's from 2025, but a buddy of mine sent it to me, and I've just been kind of giggling about it, so I wanted to yap. It's just so comical. I couldn't resist here. This drooling moron is pointing the gun directly at that dude's head. I can't believe this shit wasn't shut down immediately. It's just so embarrassing. This is absurd. And I bet there's probably a lot of cope out there from people saying, no, I bet it's not actually pointed at the guy's head. It probably clears it. We just can't really tell from the camera angle. But I would argue, wiggling my finger, we can actually tell a lot from the camera angle and also from that dude's response to it, his reaction to it, because it seems like he noticed and side-eyed it and took a little bit of an uncomfortable shimmy backwards, and even then I don't think he fully got out of line with the muzzle. He like, and this is still, at the end of the day, something you just don't do. Like, I feel like most people, even their first time handling a gun, would most likely not point it directly down the fucking gullet of their friend next to them. I imagine most people's instinct would be to, like, point it away from them, like most people would do it at the ground. That's, like, the normal thing to do. So, like, what the fuck is this? Has she just had so much filler put into her face over the years that some of it has started to seep through the blood-brain barrier and she gave herself a lobotomy? Like, this is just nuts. It just feels extremely performative, and it makes me feel like she's never actually handled a gun in her life outside of the time she shot her dog. No one who has had any level, even the most, like, rudimentary understanding of firearms, would do what she is doing here. And the agent to her left noticed it, looked a little freaked out for a second, then took, like, a slight step back to maybe get the barrel a little outside of his fucking temple that it was pointed at. But, I mean, I can't believe they didn't shut that shit down. Are they, like, are they paying attention? Like, are they lucid? Like, I don't know how that was allowed to persist throughout the entire video. Even if the gun is not loaded, it doesn't matter. The very first rule of handling firearms, and this doesn't matter if you're John Wick or fucking Paul Cheeseburger that just happened to go to a local gun range, the very first rule of handling firearms is to treat every gun as if it were loaded. And boy howdy, let me tell you, you'll never guess what the second rule of firearm safety is that Christy just wipes her whole asshole with. Don't point a gun at something you don't intend to destroy. It doesn't matter your level of experience. These two things, the first and second rule, are drilled into your head immediately upon any kind of training or any kind of course, or if you even just went for 30 minutes with your frat brothers to a fucking shooting range. They hammer these points home because they are so important. I can't imagine a world where someone handles a gun without knowing at least these two things. Even if you've never shot a gun, you have probably heard both of these rules before. They are that popular and that well known. And yet, here she is, pointing a gun at that dude's noodle right next to her.
And they hate
It's crazy, and it really makes me question what their training must look like if they're letting this clown march in there and flag him like that for the entire duration of the video. It's so painfully cringe. Even if she just, like,
they're gonna exercise, because that's the biggest issue. You have your idiot in chief saying, well, he shouldn't have had a gun. Republicans are big on the Second Amendment, motherfucker. They're really big on the Second Amendment.
Donald Trump said the words, "We can't have people just walking around with guns." You just can't do that. You can't just walk around with guns.
Yeah. So you just alienated a big part of your base. Now, back to a bootleg.
People who spent 8 years saying Obama's coming for your guns, Obama's going to take your guns, and now Trump is standing right there on the White House lawn saying you can't just walk around with guns.
Yeah. So
the whole reason we shot the guy is because he had a gun.
And so now all of these people that live that aren't really MAGA, but they are Republican because their daddy was Republican. My guns?
Kristi Noem is already trying to pull the Nazi thing. Yeah, so she was talking to reporters and she made the statement. She basically said, "I'm just following orders." But she's like, I'm just taking direction from the president and Stephen Miller and whoever. Like, basically, I'm just doing what they told me to do. I'm just saying what they told me to say. Well,
Puppet Master in Chief.
I mean, like, so Stephen Miller technically isn't supposed to be over anybody. He's Worm Tongue. He's the king's advisor.
It's from 2025, but a buddy of mine sent it to me and I've just been kind of giggling about it, so I wanted to yap. It's just so comical, I couldn't resist here. This drooling moron is pointing the gun directly at that dude's head. I can't believe this shit wasn't shut down immediately.
We're always happy to be joined by Ken Klippenstein. He joins us now. Make sure to follow Ken on his website, kenklippenstein.com. That's where you can follow his Substack, follow him on X, wherever you get your news. Ken is there, and he has been reporting from inside the bowels of ICE and Customs and Border Protection, where he's getting leaks. And those leaks paint a picture of the internal dynamics at these agencies that have been tested enormously over the last several months. Ken is out with a new report that was, Ken, I saw this yesterday, linked on the Drudge Report. By the way, you probably already know that, but mega traffic. So everyone was posting this. And some of the quotes just from Ken's sources. Here's one. One ICE agent tells Ken, I can go on and on, but overall, it's been a ridiculous experience. Another one says, as much as I support this administration, there needs to be more common sense in situations like this, not a knee-jerk damage control narrative that does not line up with the evidence on video that was from a Border Patrol agent. So, Ken, thanks for joining us. Please walk us through your reporting here. What are you hearing from inside these agencies?
Well, one of the things that surprised me most was I asked each of the people I interviewed, which is 8 people from both ICE and Border Patrol. One of the most surprising things was asking about the shooting this past week, and every single one of them blamed the Border Patrol officers involved. Wow. And I want to stress, that's not coming from some liberal lefty position. I think every person I talked to, maybe with the exception of one, were Republicans. They just thought it was unprofessional, chaotic, and crazy. And when you talk to them, you get the impression of an episode of Reno 911 more than some federal elite law enforcement response like it's been framed by the administration. And they would basically say that themselves because they've been inundated in young, inexperienced recruits who I thought when I talked to them, they'd be excited about this tripling of the ICE law enforcement budget. All of them said that these new recruits are useless because they haven't been trained. They don't know what the hell's going on. They've been dumped into this foreign context that's completely different from where Border Patrol usually primarily operates, or even what ICE typically does. And so it was kind of this topsy-turvy, like opposite in so many ways of what I'd expected that I was going to find when I talked to them. Because they all support immigration enforcement in principle. They just don't support what's taking place because it's not immigration enforcement. It's become a national security mission.
Oh, it's cold out here. I'm either doing something genius or it's going to be a disaster. I've already got it pumped up, so I'm going to see if I can stuff it in there. Here, which is right here. I'm really excited about this video. I've been wanting to try it. Into a sauna. Okay, so we got the Crua tent. This is the Crua Duo, and it has an insulated tent. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this up, and then we're gonna get the insulated tent on the inside. And we're gonna see how hot we can get that with those hand warmers. I'm really excited about this video. I've been wanting to try it.
Okay, so what is this other thing,
tent
though?
all set up. Now, we've got to shove in the insulated inner tent.
Oh, so it's actually
here, which is right here. This is the Crua Cola. This is the Crua Cola, and we'll pump it up real quick. This thing is like a big old blanket. It's full of insulation on the inside. I've always wanted to try to heat it, and an open flame is not the best idea, so I thought, hey, maybe some heater packs.
Okay, I mean, in theory, that's good theory.
There it is. Now, Now we gotta put it in there. Which maybe I should have just put it in there and then pumped it up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right, I've already got it pumped up, so I'm gonna see if I can stuff it in there. Wrestling an insulated tent in close quarters. You should try it sometime. You're no match for me. I told you. I got it. Okay. Oh, boy, you probably can't see anything in here. It's completely dark because that's what these insulated tents are all about. Yes, I did it. We might need a little more air though. Nice. Look at this, you guys. It is so dark in here. Oh, that is so cool. Okay, so what we got to do now is we got to get out 80 of those industrial sized back warmers. They're all individually packed, so I have to unpack every single one of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hopefully be able to stick them on the wall. I'll do like maybe 20 on each wall. So 20, 40, 60.
I would think,
and then
pile
like
them in the corners.
20 on the floor.
Pile them in the corners.
See what happens. We'll see how hot it can get in here.
That should be
good. We'll go ahead
enough.
and open it up.
I would think.
Here we go. Heater pack. So what these use is an exo. I'm gonna do 2 at a time. We've got 42 degrees Fahrenheit in here, which is 6 degrees Celsius. I'm gonna leave this right here on the floor. And then we
Crazy. And look at that crema. Oh my goodness. Look at that crema. Oh my goodness.
look at that. A nice hot warm espresso while I sit here and wait for
A
my
nice
tent
hot
to heat
warm-
up.
A nice hot warm espresso. A nice hot warm espresso.
Oh, that is so good. Ooh. Oh, it's nice and warm too. Really warm. The timer's
Is it a
been
nice
going
hot
for
warm espresso?
a half an hour. So we've been sitting and waiting for half an hour. I've heard a couple of them drop so far. So I'm curious to see how many are going to be on the wall by the end of this experiment. I guess we'll just find out. All right, I'll check back in with you guys here in a half an hour.
I would have just piled them up in the four corners.
All right, it has been 1 hour. All right, let's go check it out. Oh, it does feel warm in there. It definitely does feel warm. Oh no. It does look like a lot of them have fallen off the wall. Oh, bummer. Okay, I'm coming in. It does feel a lot warmer in here than it does outside. I'll close that up.
Bring your leg in,
They didn't
Dort.
stay to the wall. Oop. So down below, we've got 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 10
Not
degrees
bad.
Celsius.
Not bad.
So you guys can see that. I don't know, you guys. That's not a huge difference. It really is not. I feel like I've had this tent hotter with just my body heat.
Oh, look at this. At least Greg Bavino was able to get his... Does he have his keyboard in there? Does he have his keyboard? How they gonna have keyboard comment down? And is he at least get his keyboard? Make sure he can tweet before he got his thing. He did a good job in that 30 minutes though, because he filled that up in that 30. He must have knew this was coming. He had to have known this was coming for him to pack up that box that full in 30 minutes. Yeah, they march you out just like that though. I've been there. Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and this is Who Raised Y'all, where we highlight those unique individuals going above and beyond to make society worse.
I know I'm supposed to feel sorry for Alex Preddy, but I don't. I don't. Do you know why I wasn't shot by Border Patrol this weekend? Because I kept my ass inside and out of their operations. It's very simple. If I felt strongly enough about something the government was doing that I would go out and protest, I would do it peacefully on the sidewalk without interfering via a whistle, via shouting, via my body.
You know, the kinds of...
You know, exactly what they were doing. Like, seriously. It's exactly what they were... It's exactly... what is wrong with the... Well, you know, if I was going to protest, I would be doing it peacefully with a whistle, and I wouldn't be interfering, and I did it. That's exactly what they were fucking doing. Like, how can we all watch the same video and a MAGA comes away with their brain processing exactly the opposite of what occurred in the video? I don't understand it. It fucking, it killed me.
And when we pull the trigger, get down. We should be down. We come around, the gun goes.
People you'll see asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates.
I want to talk to the manager.
Out of Alex Preddy, and it was, I guess, a few days before he was murdered. And he is protesting on the sidewalk with a bunch of other protesters. And I gotta be honest with you.
Ilhan Omar was attacked at her event last night in Minnesota, and now you got Trump trying to say the whole thing is fake. Here's the clip.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or
He can't
face
stop
impeachment.
being trash. I don't know.
Right immediately after Omar called for ICE to be abolished and for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to resign or be impeached, 55-year-old Anthony James Kazmierzak stood up and sprayed her with an unknown liquid from a large syringe. Also, he reportedly yelled that Omar needs to resign, and right now, while we don't know what the liquid is yet, one BBC journalist in the room said it had a sour smell like a chemical, the New York Times reporting that it smelled like vinegar. And while you had many, happy that there weren't any injuries, you had many kind of amazed by the response. Omar looking like she was gonna punch the guy for a second. Also, she refused security's efforts to move move her off stage to safety after the man was taken into custody. She then went back to speaking, and as she was leaving, she told reporters at the event, "I survived war, and I'm definitely going to survive intimidation and whatever these people think that they can throw at me because I'm built that way." And then after, she went on Twitter to say, "I'm okay. I'm a survivor, so this small agitator isn't going to intimidate me from doing my work. I don't let bullies win." And while right now we're trying to learn more about this guy and his motive, it does right now look like it was a premeditated attack. You have a neighbor telling the New York Post that Kazmierzak asked him to walk his dog so that he could go to Omar's event. He apparently even hinted that something was going to happen, with the neighbor saying that Kazmierzak said that he might get arrested. And then you had this neighbor going on to say that Kazmierzak has been heavily medicated from a car accident years before that messed up his spine, as well as being diagnosed with Parkinson's. You also know from the neighbor that he apparently leans conservative, and social media pages apparently belong to him show a history of supporting Trump and right-wing commentators, including Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. I really wonder where he landed in the past year with those two. This guy is now been charged with third-degree assault, and he's being held without bail. So, well, we'll have to wait to see what happens there. In the meantime, we've seen a mixed bag of reactions to this. You have many officials condemning the attack, speaking out against political violence. Some Democrats laying the blame for this at the feet of Donald Trump, like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who said, "It's not a coincidence that after days of President Trump and VP Vance putting Representative Omar in their crosshairs with slanderous public attacks, she gets assaulted at her town hall." And adding, "Thank God she is okay. If they want leaders to take down the temperature, they need to look in the mirror." And well, yeah, if you look into it, Trump has spent recent months targeting Ilhan Omar with some pretty nasty rhetoric. And in fact, yesterday, the very same day that Omar was attacked, Trump was shit-talking her while speaking in Iowa.
Not like Ilhan Omar. Did you see what? Did you see that wise guy? You know, she's always talking about the Constitution provides me with the following. You know, the Constitution, she comes from a country that's a disaster. It's considered, I think, the worst. It's not even a country.
Right, and then when he heard about this attack, he told a reporter, quote,
He doesn't
"I
even
think she's
say
a fraud.
anything.
I really
He
don't
just
think about
spits out
that. She
words."
probably had herself sprayed knowing her." Now with that, on one side, you have many finding that reaction disgusting, though also some people finding it suspicious, wondering why Trump's first reaction to this was to assume that a politician would fake an attack on themselves during an election year for some political gain. But then also too, as you might imagine, this really fanned the flames of his supporters to speculate that Omar somehow staged this whole thing. So you saw people online going through the video and saying that she nodded at the guy before he attacked, or saying that, she didn't react the way that she should have if she was attacked, so it must be fake. And all of this is, we know that this woman has faced increased death threats.
Anyone would have instinctively backed away. No? See, that's just it, man. Like, they just say shit. It doesn't even make any sense. They just make up melodramatic soap opera shit. And they just say shit. And it doesn't even make any... No, plenty of people would whoop your ass for squirting shit on them. What the fuck?
Since Trump took office again and started making some insane claims about her, including that she's now worth more than $40 million. Which, just to explain where he's getting that number, in her financial disclosures from last spring, Omar valued her husband's venture capital management firm and his winery as worth between $5 million and $25 million, and between $1 million and $5 million, respectively. So the very top range of those numbers is where Trump and co, they're getting the worth $44 million thing. But as Forbes pointed out, even if those businesses were operating at the tippity top of those ranges, that's still not accurate for how much Omar or even her husband's worth. And in fact, you had her late last year explaining that her husband is a partner in those ventures, and the numbers that she included are the business's total value, not just the value of his ownership stake. Though also with that, it is worth noting that she's been at the center of a Justice Department investigation since the Biden days, specifically focused on her finances, campaign spending, and interactions with a foreign citizen. Well, reportedly, it looks like things have stalled on that front due to there being a lack of evidence. In recent weeks, GOP members of the House, they've been threatening to open their own investigation into Omar as a way of connecting her to the Minnesota fraud scandal, especially after evidence revealed that some members of Minnesota's Somali community set up companies to bill state agencies for social services that were never provided. But I'll say at this point, there's no evidence to connect Omar herself to any fraud scheme, and her office has reportedly received no official inquiries from the Oversight Committee or the Trump DOJ. And so as it stands now, it's just Trump and his goons fanning the flames of political violence with their aggressive rhetoric. But also, despite these relentless verbal attacks and even physical attacks on Minnesota's elected representatives, Tuesday, it was actually a good day for Democrats, at least in one way, because they actually won 2 seats in the Minnesota State House after special elections yesterday. And it was significant not because it was surprising, actually, these were both deep blue districts. In fact, the Democrat was the only candidate on the ballot for one of them, but rather because it restores the even partisan split in the House there with 67 Democrats and 67 Republicans. And that helps them a lot because the Senate Democrats already have a slim majority, and of course you have Tim Walz, the Democratic governor. And so while they'll still need some Republican support to pass things, they can at least use the power that they have to resist the federal invasion. Even if that just means things like holding hearings to spotlight what the feds are doing there, as a state Senate subcommittee is set to do this week. Also on that note, the 2 agents who used their guns on Alex Preddy have reportedly been put on administrative leave. Right? Because before this, CBP said that they were just still out in the field, just not in Minneapolis. Now, DHS, they
Yeah.
say this move is standard
Exactly
procedure.
what
and it
Bullshit
shouldn't be viewed
Bovino,
as
little bitty
suspicion of
Bovino
wrongdoing.
said.
But still, 5 days after the shooting, the identities of the agents haven't been released. And despite all the talk about some agents leaving Minnesota with Greg Bovino, it's far from clear that Trump's troopers are actually pulling out at all. Because you have people like Ken Klippenstein revealing that he's obtained a Border Patrol memo saying that federal deployment to Minneapolis is steady state and expected to continue as planned. You also had Trump himself clarifying yesterday that whatever he's doing, it is not a pullback.
We're going to de-escalate a little bit, but I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you make little changes. Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy, and in some cases that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here.
And almost all of the headlines have focused on the "we're gonna de-escalate a bit" part. Everything that he says after that, it seems to suggest that he's just maybe kicking Bovino out, but
He just
not meaningfully
bullshits.
drawing down ISIS presence in Minnesota. And so far, besides Tom Homan meeting with state and local officials, we haven't seen evidence of de-escalation. In fact, if anything, we're seeing the opposite. I mean, we're seeing things we didn't even know to expect. There's video now showing ICE agents trying to get inside the Ecuadorian consulate, which, just to be clear, it is, I guess you'd call it a big no-no. Like, international law and obvious norms, though norms don't matter, generally prohibit law enforcement authorities from entering foreign consulates or embassies without permission. And so in the video, you see a staffer running to the door to turn the agents away, telling them this is the Ecuadorian consulate, you're not allowed to enter. And then you can hear one of the agents respond by threatening to grab the staffer if he touched the agent. Though they then eventually left, and the consulate later posted that it ensured the protection of the Ecuadorians who were present at the time, adding that it activated the emergency protocols and filed a note of protest with the U.S. Embassy in Ecuador so that similar attempts are not made on other consulates. But also, this chaos, it's not just happening in Minnesota, it's ongoing in other parts of the country as well. Where you have authorities saying that a suspect sought in connection with an alleged human trafficking incident was shot during an exchange of gunfire with Border Patrol yesterday. That man in serious but stable condition with no officers hurt. And now, while that incident's under investigation, you also have people looking for accountability for all the lies that were told with Alex Preddy. And currently, the conversation inside of the White House seems to be focused on one big question. Who is to blame? Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, Greg Bovino, or someone else
All of them.
entirely? Because according to Axios, some
All of
officials
them
blamed
and
the
the
CBP
people on the
officers
ground.
on the ground for creating an initial report that left them with the belief that Preddy had brandished a
All
gun.
of
And that,
them.
even though we all saw with our own eyes with those videos that is just not true. And in fact, Border Patrol itself has now backed off of that claim in the mandatory notice that it has to provide to Congress anytime someone dies in its custody. Or with them claiming after their investigation that after agents tried to detain Preddy, he resisted, they struggled, one agent yelled, "He's got a gun," and 2 Border Patrol officers fired Glock pistols. But that report makes no mention of Preddy brandishing his own gun or of the agents firing it themselves, accidentally or otherwise. But either way, right, what most people are focused on is what DHS posted in its now infamous press statement on Twitter just a couple of hours after the shooting, and it was also something that was echoed almost verbatim by Kristi Noem and Greg Bovino. In fact, some people might not have noticed this, but if you play them side by side, they are clearly just reading a script.
An individual
approached
U.S.
U.S.
Border Patrol
Patrol
agents
officers
with a
with
9mm
semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to
The
disarm
agents
this
attempted to
individual,
disarm the
but the
individual,
armed suspect
but he
reacted
violently
violently.
resisted.
Both of them just lying on this man's name, claiming that Preddy intended to cause maximum damage and massacre federal agents. Now, Axios, they report that the White House officials who never signed off on that statement, they're frustrated. One source saying that some people tried to clean up the statement before it was sent, but it had already been disseminated. But still, one of those in the know appeared to be Stephen Miller because he posted his own comment just minutes later calling Preddy an assassin, which was also reposted by J.D. Vance. And in fact, one source told Axios that immediately following the shooting, Stephen Miller heard gun and knew what the narrative would be. Preddy came to massacre cops. And so if you believe that account, then everything just flowed from there, with a person recalling that Noem told them, "Everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen." Or because, well, technically, since Miller is just the deputy chief of staff, his official title, Noem outranks him as cabinet secretary. Practically, Miller's real power far outstrips his official title and reportedly includes de facto oversight of Noem. And personally, I think Stephen Miller is the one that's been running things. That's why I call him President Stephen Miller. Donald Trump's kind of just his empty vessel, his hammer. But with this, you had Miller himself pointing his finger back at CBP, saying that any early comments that were made were based on what it sent to the White House. And that is, you had another source blaming Greg Bovino for feeding misinformation to officials in D.C. Then, with all this, we have people outside of the White House arguing the whole blame game, it misses where the real guilt ultimately lies: President Donald Trump. Because not only was he reportedly kept apprised of the DHS press statement by Miller and Noem's top advisor, Corey Lewandowski, he also is the man at top who created all the conditions for this to happen. And so much of the mainstream conversation around this is Who will get to be his fall guy, if anyone? Right? It's a classic authoritarian tactic. Supreme leader is safe and he just moves pieces, removes pieces. And of course, don't forget that he joined the maligning of the first Minnesota civilian who was killed, Renee Good. And I'll also add there that since the Preddy shooting, he has hardly modified his stance. Yesterday, you had him calling the shooting unfortunate, but also seeming to at least partially blame Preddy for exercising his Second Amendment right to carry a firearm.
I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff.
Trump then also repeated something similar elsewhere, saying, quote, you know, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. Can't walk into this. You can't do that. But then also saying that he feels worse about Renee Good than he does with Alex Preddy because Good's parents are apparently Trump fans.
And I'm not sure about his parents, but I know her parents were big Trump fans. Makes me feel bad anyway. But I mean, I guess you could say even worse. They were tremendous Trump people, Trump fans.
As far as the reaction to Trump's seemingly anti-2A comments, you had the NRA coming out with one of the most lukewarm statements I have ever seen from them, saying, while not referencing Trump or any specific incident, the NRA unequivocally believes that all law-abiding citizens have a right to keep and bear arms anywhere they have a legal right to be. Whereas, of course, if like a Biden or Obama said this, it would be like you'd have 15 emails in your inbox, we're under attack, like all caps Twitter posts. But that double standard aside, as far as Trump, in Iowa, he then let loose another barrage of attacks on immigrants.
We have brought down crime very substantially in Minnesota. We've taken out thousands of hard criminals, hardened, vicious, horrible criminals. 2% of the population causes 90% of the crime. So when you start decimating that 2%, boom.
Though just to be clear here, available data shows that the vast majority of people arrested by ICE in recent months, they have no criminal offenses, and a very small fraction actually committed violent crimes. But still, you have Trump and his allies continuing to paint this crackdown as a restoration of law and order that is targeting the worst of the worst. And you're seeing that argument not just coming from people like Nick Fuentes or Jesse Waters, but even folks like Ben Shapiro. Or with Shapiro just releasing a video called "Are We Headed Towards Civil War?" in which he claims that the shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy were the result of obstruction from protesters and rhetoric from Democrats.
This is a left-wing chaos operation. The Insurrection Act is not new. It's not even all that unusual. When President Eisenhower sent troops into Little Rock to enforce Brown versus Board, the left called him a civil rights hero. When President Trump threatens to use the Insurrection Act, the left calls him a fascist dictator who is conspiring to destroy our republic. Give me a break.
But also, speaking of fascist dictators conspiring to destroy our republic, Trump's FBI announced today that it's executing a search warrant at an election office in Fulton County, Georgia. The source telling CNN that it's related to the Trump DOJ's efforts to seize election records in search of voter fraud. Or because Fulton County is home to Atlanta and it swung for Biden by a large margin in 2020. And that led to the now infamous phone call where you had Trump trying to pressure the state's top election officials to overturn the results in his favor.
We think that if you check the signatures, a real check of the signatures going back in Fulton County, you'll find at least a couple of 100,000 of forged signatures. Look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
Now, with this whole situation, last month, you had the Justice Department Civil Rights Division suing Fulton County, seeking to force officials to turn over ballots from the 2020 election. But the judge in the case actually hasn't made a ruling yet, so apparently the FBI has just decided to pounce away. You've got a
His voice sounds like a
telling the Guardian that officials there, they're scrambling to understand the nature and target of the search. But also, Georgia's not the only state that Trump's going after, right? His DOJ, they've sued several others for their voter data, and judges have tossed a few of those cases out, most recently this week in Oregon. So with the midterms coming up this November, we're gonna have to wait to see how this plays out. Also, will Trump's goons stop in Georgia, or will they go much, much further, and what happens there? And then there's more we've got to dive into in just a minute, but first let me thank a sponsor and say, you ever download a game just to try it and suddenly you're bot and come find me in game? Then getting back into the news, more news you need to know. Russia has now suffered more casualties in Ukraine than in any conflict it's been a part of since World War II. And that's just one reason that experts are arguing that Putin, he's just captaining a sinking ship, and that his victory, it is far from inevitable. But Ukraine, they're hurting too, right? Talks have yet to yield real results, and the Kremlin, they've got a lot of dirty tricks in their bag. And so there's a lot that we've got to unpack together. Where we're going to start are with the talks that took place over the weekend between Russian, Ukrainian, and American officials. Right? They were the first involving all three countries at once, and initially, they kind of seemed to go weirdly well. You had Zelensky saying on social media that more meetings would be held provided there is a readiness to move forward. You had the Kremlin apparently agreeing, saying that talks would resume next week, and you also had Zelensky saying that a U.S. document on security guarantees for Ukraine was 100% ready, and that it's now just a matter of picking a time and a place for it to be signed, saying the document will then be sent for ratification to the U.S. Congress and the Ukrainian parliament. But then the cracks started to show. Or you had the Financial Times reporting that the U.S. told Ukraine that they'd have to sign a peace deal with Russia before getting security guarantees and that any deal would involve giving up land. But then Reuters spoke to a source who claimed that the U.S. wasn't trying to force Ukraine into territorial concessions. So ultimately, it appears that this continues to be the question that could just screw up any chance of an agreement. With the Kremlin, they reportedly said on the deal that it said that Trump agreed to in Alaska over the summer, which would involve Ukraine handing over parts of the country that Russia hasn't been able to capture even after 4 years of war. But then you have Zelensky, who has consistently said that Ukraine's territorial integrity must be upheld in any peace deal to end the war. All while you have experts at the Institute for the Study of War arguing that Putin is just using these latest talks to stall for time and stave off additional U.S. sanctions, as he's done many times before. Though, I will say here that the hope is that he may become more willing to compromise as his troops, they just continue to pay a massive, massive toll for shockingly little gain. Well, neither side has publicly disclosed comprehensive casualty figures. According to a new analysis by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the number of Russian troops killed since the beginning of the war is around 415,000. And the number of the overall casualties, including those wounded or missing, that's around 1.2 million people, which, like I said, is more than any conflict Russia's been a part of since World War II. I mean, it's more than 17 times greater than Soviet losses in Afghanistan during the 1980s, 11 times greater than during Russia's first and second Chechen wars, and 5 times greater than all Russian and Soviet wars combined since the Second World War. And with all that, while Russia now occupies around 20% of Ukraine, it's been advancing at a snail's pace for more than a year. I mean, since the start of 2024, they have reportedly only taken another 1.5% of Ukraine's territory, advancing at an average rate of between 15 and 70 meters per day in their most high-profile offenses. That is slower than almost any major offensive campaign in any war in the last century, which is why with that you have one of the authors of the study saying, Russia's poor battlefield performance in Ukraine and declining economic productivity indicates that Russia is in serious decline as a major power. And adding, while Russia still possesses nuclear weapons and a large military, it is no longer a great power in most military, economic, or science and technological categories. But of course, one of the big things here is even if Russia's getting weaker, Ukraine's not doing so hot either. With the center estimating that between 100,000 and 140,000 Ukrainian soldiers have died so far, which puts Ukraine's overall casualty number at around 600,000, and then actually combined, the total is 1.8 million, which apparently means we're on track for more than 2 million by spring. But also, despite Russia bearing the brunt of that, its troops still outnumber Ukrainians and fighting by almost 3 to 1. And that's in addition to Russia, of course, having a bigger population to draw from to replenish their ranks. In fact, Russia has seemingly kept its troop levels pretty much steady throughout the war, though to do so, they've had to kind of pull out all the stops. Russia's had to carry out its first draft since World War II, and it's also offering massive financial incentives to almost anyone who will enlist. So in one region, for example, you can apparently get $50,000 in bonuses, which is more than twice the average annual income in the region. And then in addition to that, we know as many as 15,000 North Korean troops have fought alongside Russian forces.
Okay, officially, things I am done with in 2026, fence sitters and people playing dumb. I presume you guys have been following the news as of late. The horrors going on in Minnesota currently. Rest in peace to Alex Preddy. Rest in peace to Renee Nicole Good and everyone else across the globe who has suffered at the hands of ICE over the past year. Everyone's timeline is currently flooded with one take after another of what is going on as a result of this organization that is seemingly running with little to no accountability right now. And the music sphere is no different. Enter one Grimes, Canadian producer, singer, songwriter, who, to her credit, I will say, does have more political takes than most artists out there in the pop scene, even in the underground, really for years now. Whether it has gotten her a positive reception or a negative, Grimes has never really hesitated to throw her 2 cents in when it comes to a host of different issues, from tech to electoral politics, which is something I have long thought was just an interesting characteristic about her, even if often I don't find myself agreeing with her takes. But with each passing year, the more Grimes takes I read, the more I get the sense that despite the fact that she clearly is opinionated on all of these issues, she enters into these conversations nearly every time as if she has literally just found out about the issue and she's just catching up now. Case in point, this tweet, which was seemingly in reaction to the same terrible video footage we have all been seeing of Alex Preddy reaction to the
I can only fear the point of this is to instigate martial law by goading civilians into a message, therefore justifying no elections or worse. It seems wildly unprecedented in living memory. What are the best? Yeah. because I'm seeing a lot of calls fast.
The same terrible video footage we have all been seeing of Alex Preddy on the ground with absolutely no firearm on him because he had been disarmed at this point. No threat to anyone but the agents who were mercilessly beating him into the ground. One, I guess, just decided to him in cold blood. And here's Grimes's response to this. I can only fear the point of this is to instigate martial law by goading civilians into an open combat situation and therefore justifying no elections and worse. This seems wildly unprecedented in living memory. What are the best strategic plays? Because I'm seeing a lot of calls to violence that I fear would backfire dramatically. Wow, I'm sure all of the Minnesotans who have been protesting and suffering in the streets for weeks now are really excited to hear that Grimes has just caught up to this issue and now she's ready to sit down and strategize. Finally, we can all figure it out. Grimes is here at the table, everyone. That's exactly at the moment we've been waiting for. Claire, not only is the latter part of your tweet here an absolute joke, but the first part of your tweet here displays a severe ignorance toward the political landscape of the now.
Yeah,
because
I
everything
mean,
you're describing this
exactly.
administration might do in reaction to some sort of
They're already
violent
doing it.
retaliation, they are already doing. Trump and the Republicans are already acting like the next election is maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't. And even with Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy providing nothing in the way of any just cause for their arrest, a threat, any violent action at all on their part, not only were they mercilessly but the administration and every Republican operative and propagandist you can find online has been spending every day defaming them and making them out to be radical rogue who were asking for it. Because see, here's the thing, Claire, when you're dealing with fascists, when you're dealing with a violent takeover of your country, of your community, of your government, they're not playing by the rules. They're not telling the truth. Even if you are peacefully protesting, they're gonna shoot you anyway and then pretend you were doing something illegal to justify it. And you can show these guys a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse and they won't even flinch. One thing I will agree with here is that there are elements of this that feel unprecedented, definitely new and heightened, but I don't think the answer to dealing with this administration is to instill fear in the good people of Minnesota who are doing everything they can to safely and legally prevent ICE from.
What is up, YouTube? Back again. Today I have another bald face. You see how many we got at the end? Yes. Brown wasp and everything in there. You can kind of see. There's a big boy of a nest, though. So, let's start with a bang. Do do do. This is pretty cool. So, spray adhesive, as advertised, glued everything in there. You can kind of see we got some swarming trying to get in, and they are getting stuck to it. Did you see that guy's leg? That was amazing. So, let's just spray a little right around this entry point here, and we'll see if we, you know, hey. It's absolutely amazing though. He's trying to kill him. He's like, maybe if I eat you, I can get out. Oh, look at, he's biting his arm. Really working good. We got a bunch of them inside.
Now, I want to turn to the topic my colleagues have been talking about, which is Alex Preddy, your employee, the ICU nurse who was killed over the weekend by Border Patrol. You said in your opening statement that you weren't able to engage on this topic, but you did engage on this topic. It took you 30 hours to put something out on Twitter about his death. First, you put out something with penguins in Greenland, but then you put out a statement that said, quote, such tragedies are unfortunately happening in Minnesota because state and local officials' refusal to cooperate with the federal government to enforce the law and deport dangerous illegal criminals.
They're just saying
Was
shit.
Alex
No, they're just making shit up. I mean, god damn, I'm so sick of people just saying shit and then motherfuckers just pretending and going along with it. I mean, it doesn't even make any fucking sense. It doesn't even make any fucking sense. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. Especially considering that the shit they're doing, they're not deploying any ICE agents to any red states, and red states have higher numbers of undocumented immigrants. So, seems kind of weird.
Preddy's death the result of the mayor of Minneapolis or the governor of Minnesota?
Alex Preddy's death was a tragedy, as I've stated, and I will continue to stand by that statement.
Okay, but you put it out under official VA Twitter, right? This wasn't like your personal opinion. You weighed in and said why he died. And let me just ask, right? He was your employee. You know that people who work for the VA can't just walk in. They're vetted. They're properly vetted. We had other cabinet officials call him a domestic terrorist and an assassin. Based on your access to the information you have in the VA and in front of 460,000 VA employees, was this man, in your estimation, a domestic terrorist or an assassin?
What I have said about this as being a tragedy, I will continue to say, and I'm not going to make a characterization on something someone else said.
It's not, you said that it was the result of local officials blocking their access. You said it. It's not someone else. So if you can't say
I made no characterization about Mr. Preddy.
You said that his death was the result of, quote, state and local officials' refusal to cooperate with the federal government.
Yeah,
Not my
exactly.
words, yours. So you are prejudicing this investigation. You are weighing in on what you think happened. And I just think in front of the employees who have been through a lot this year, that you should at least be able to say to his family that he's not a domestic terrorist or an assassin. Right? People have eyes. They see the video there. And I think we owe him more than.
Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one. Where I have just followed an emissary through a wormhole into a brand new sector with an inactive wormhole gateway in it, a whole bunch of unexplored planets, and immediately came under attack from a brand new hostile faction known as the Red Guard. I may or may not have opened fire on them first, but details. Remember, it's never a war crime the first time, and if there are no surviving witnesses, who can say who opened fire first? Just going to open up the gateway in case these guys call in bigger and tougher reinforcements. Red Guard. I wonder if these guys are related to the Red Raider faction that I encountered when I first arrived in this universe. I guess I'll find out. One left. I have to admit, I am liking the new ship design. It's not perfect. Sustained combat with sustained use of engine boost is going to drain my batteries faster than I can generate power, but it's good enough, at least for now. These little buggers are tough. I have to admit, this does not fill me with a warm fuzzy feeling regarding what's likely to happen if I come across any of them. Oh, let's get the scan off.
All right, guys, we got to talk about this because Stephen Miller is on some thin ice, y'all. On some thin ice. Now, I always felt like, I don't even know how this motherfucker climbed the ladder of success to where he was. He's basically Trump's right-hand man. And, I mean, honestly, I really think it's just being a relentless kiss ass. So he loves Trump. He kisses Trump's ass, tells him what he wants to hear. And then I think he's the actual, like, dot the I's and cross the T's guy. He's the guy. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is under fire for issuing misleading and incendiary information that claimed immigration agents killed an armed Minnesota protester Saturday because he wanted to, quote, massacre them. That language has now become a source of controversy in the Trump administration. White House officials are now blaming Customs and Border Patrol for furnishing inaccurate information, while others are targeting Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff and top Trump advisor, 6 sources with knowledge of the situation told Axios. Now, my guess is, as we continue here, it's Stephen Miller who's blaming Border Patrol because he's got nobody else to blame because he came up with the language. That's my guess. This episode illustrates the confusion that gripped the administration after the Saturday shooting death of Minnesota protester Alex Preddy, and it shows the influence of Miller, Trump's close and longest-serving political advisor, whose dominion in the White House far exceeds his title. Miller's power extends to de facto oversight of Noam, though she's a cabinet secretary who technically outranks him. Everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen, Noam told a person who relayed her remarks to Axios. So that's crazy. So now they're already hitting us with the, I was just following orders. Everybody knew it was eventually going to end with that same line, because that's the defense that the Nazis used at Nuremberg. I was just following orders. Hey, I didn't want to do it. I didn't even like it. I was just following orders, and that's my job. I got to follow the orders. So she's saying, yeah, I called the guy a domestic terrorist. Yeah, I said he wanted to do a massacre, but I was just saying what they told me to say, homie. I didn't even know anything about it. Immediately after Preddy was fatally shot in Minneapolis, about 10:05 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday, administration officials in Washington knew they had a potential disaster on their hands, but had little information. Oh, please. No, they were doing damage control. Let's be serious. The officers directly involved in the shooting all shut up and got lawyers quick, so there wasn't a lot of information, one source briefed on the statement said. The CBP officers on the ground furnished a report that White House officials told Axios left officials with the belief that Preddy had brandished a gun. Miller heard gun and knew what the narrative would be. Preddy came to massacre cops, a source briefed on the process of assembling the press statement said. Any early comments made were based on information sent to the White House through CBP, Miller told Axios in response. So I was exactly right. It's Miller who's blaming Customs and Border Protection because he came up with it. DHS posted the statement at 12:31 p.m. on X. White House officials had signed off on the statement, but others had not, leaving them frustrated. Quote, others within the White House attempted to clean up the DHS statement prior to it being sent, but it had already been disseminated, said another source familiar with the episode. The president was kept apprised of the statement by Miller and Noam's top advisor, Corey Lewandowski, one of Trump's former campaign managers in 2016, according to two sources. Miller then posted on X that Preddy was an assassin, which a source said was also based on a preliminary report from Customs and Border Protection. Nah, bro, you're coming up with the language. Spare me. You're coming up with the fucking language. He's such a weasel. Now that he's caught, I didn't even do it. No, actually, it was them, Papa. Vice President Vance then posted it on his page. Yeah, see, they all fucking, Miller led the way. They all got on board because they're all fucking drones. They're all lemmings. It's whatever Daddy says. But Daddy is playing golf. Daddy is remodeling a bathroom. Okay?
Over and over.
Like, so what do? I don't know. Let fucking Stephen Miller take the wheel because he seems to do it all the time anyway. Noam subsequently used the language at a news conference, as did the Border Patrol commander, then overseeing operations in the Twin Cities, Greg Bovino. Noam also inaccurately suggested Preddy was brandishing his weapon when videos showed he never reached for his weapon and had been disarmed before he was shot. As more video from bystanders and observers contradicted the official narrative over the weekend, Trump became agitated with what he saw on TV and social media and decided to make changes in the Minnesota operation. It's always the TV stuff, isn't it? It is always the TV shit for Trump. He truly is like the fucking, the boomer Fox News grandpa who's like, I don't like the show of this. I don't like the theater. I don't like the optics, and we need to address this. You have fucking Miller goose-stepping in the corner and Zig Heiling, and you have Trump going, this doesn't look good on TV. We have to do something about this. On Monday, he dispatched border czar Tom Homan, a critic of the heavy-handed law enforcement efforts. He's not a fucking critic of the heavy-handed. Where are you getting this? Oh, my God.
Exactly.
Hamhead is one of these people. He is one of the fucking psychopaths. What?
He is.
Oh, my God. Like I said, 100% Hitler versus 99% Hitler. That's Bovino versus Hamhead. Miller said Minnesota operation didn't follow the guidelines established by the White House in the aftermath of the January 7th shooting of another Minneapolis demonstrator, Renee Good. Oh, so now Miller's going, you didn't follow the guidelines. Gosh golly. Specifically, Miller said the squads of CBP agents were supposed to be divided between officers engaged in the arrest of specifically targeted criminal aliens and other officers in charge of crowd control to keep agitators from interfering. We are examining why CBP was not following that protocol. Don't fucking talk to me about protocol when these motherfuckers murdered somebody and fled the scene again, and they also murdered somebody, and then another medical professional tried to help, and they said, you're not allowed to. They violated every protocol every step of the way. Even them being there is violating protocol. They're violating the Constitution by being there. And now the protocol. Now you say the fucking protocol? Oh, my God. Noam on Monday night had a 2-hour meeting in the White House with Trump to discuss the matter, the New York Times first reported. Quote, she's a loyal person and she wanted her voice heard, one source said. She made sure to convey her loyalty. Miller wasn't in the meeting, neither was Homan. with whom Noam has feuded. Oh, these people all fucking hate each other. Let's go. Injected in my veins. Homan was en route to Minnesota by then. Noam has complained to others that she feels she's being hung out to dry over the episode and has made sure to emphasize she took direction from Miller
She's
and the
evil
president,
on
a source
her
told Axios.
own.
Bro, I'll tell you exactly
She's
what happened here in a
evil on
second.
her
Trump's
own.
move was a rare break from Miller, who remains one of the president's closest advisors, sources said. Stephen Miller is one of President Trump's most trusted and longest-serving aides. The president loves Stephen. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt told Axios. Trump and Leavitt also repeatedly praised Noam, despite rumors to the contrary. Noam's job is safe. White House officials say she's doing the job the president wants her to do. One official said, there's no daylight there. Okay, here's what happened, and I know for sure this is what happened. Stephen Miller, as per usual, used the Trump playbook, and it's also the Miller playbook. Darvo. Flip it, go on the offense. Flip it, go on the offense. The victim is the oppressor is the victim. Smear the guy who was killed. Never admit fault in any way, shape, or form, ever. So, yeah, call him a domestic terrorist, say he's a wannabe assassin, say he was coming to murder cops. Who cares? Now, they're right-wing postmodernists. Narrative matters more than truth. We'll create our own truth by driving home the narrative. The problem is, this is one of those instances where Trump didn't care. Trump was busy. Trump was focused on something else. And what does Miller do? He takes the reins. We know this is the dynamic. Why? Because this happened. Remember the whole hoopla over that group chat that they accidentally invited a journalist to, and they were casually discussing top secret plans to bomb Yemen, and then that ended up leaking out? Well, there was an exchange in those text messages where Miller says, you have the green light from the big guy, or something to that effect, right? And then they do it. Well, come to find out from subsequent reporting, they actually didn't. Miller made the decision to do that bombing in Yemen, and it didn't actually go to Trump. He said it came from Trump. It didn't come from Trump. And so Stephen Miller has decided, look, this guy, what does Trump actually want to do? He wants to build the Epstein Memorial Ballroom, the Arc de Trump. He wants to remodel another fucking bathroom like he did with the Lincoln bathroom, right? He's got certain things that he likes to focus on. Okay, it probably takes 45 minutes in the morning to put his fucking bronzer on his face and to get his fucking dead meerkat hair in place. And so the guy, Trump's about the show, Trump's about the optics, Trump's the show pony. You put him out there in front of the crowd and let him make him laugh or whatever. Stephen Miller looks at it like, I run this bitch. I'm the actual one that dots the I's and crosses the T's and makes the real decisions and is most hands-on involved with all the different policy stuff. I'm the fucking shadow president, bitch. So the shadow president got out over his skis. And he realized, hey, we always go on the offense all the time about everything ever. We did with Renee Good. And we largely got away with that, right? So now we're going to do it here too. And so he tells Kristi Noem and he tells J.D. Vance, he tells all of them, here's what we're doing. And that he's saying that with the same assumption locked in that this is actually not even coming from me, it's coming from the president. And so Kristi Noem goes out there and does it.
Yeah.
But then come to find out, the optics of this one are so bad, it looks so bad on TV, your lies are so egregious, that Trump actually doesn't even like it.
Yeah.
And so, interesting thing is, Stephen Miller was not in the meeting, though, after the fact, right? Which is the first sign of any sort of issue between Trump and Miller. Now, look, we're a long way from him being axed, but the fact of the matter is actually very simple when it comes to Miller. I have no doubt the worst decisions coming out of this White House, the most fascist and Nazi-adjacent decisions coming out of this White House are 100% from Stephen Miller. Like, he is the one who insisted that, no, we're going all Insky on the mass deportations. He's the guy who berates ICE and CBP officials daily and says, you need to get your arrest numbers up. He's the guy who dissolved the agencies to go after actual cartel members and actual child traffickers.